All right, no rest for the weary as the Celtics will begin their Eastern Conference Finals with the Heat tomorrow night in Miami. The Heat have had more rest than since last Thursday when they finished off the Sixers in 6 games. Here are some postseason scoring leaders. Jimmy Butler's played excellent. He missed some time, but he's averaging almost 30 points a game. Tyler Hero averaged over 20 in the regular season. He's down to under 14. Bam Adebayo has played well for them, and then you got a couple of guards there who can fill it up. From time to time, we'll bring it back on here with Chris Mannix. First overall, 10,000 feet, overview thoughts of this series.
I feel very good about the Celtics' chances of winning this series. Better than I felt about their chances of winning the Milwaukee series. Miami's playing great, but you saw the numbers there. Jimmy Butler is the engine that drives that offense. And the Celtics are equipped to defend a player like that. You've got Marcus Smart. You've got Jaylen Brown. You've got wing defenders you can throw at him and mix things up. But as I said at the top of the show, they have found ways to limit the production and limit the efficiency of the best player on the opposing team. Kevin Durant, under 40%. Giannis, 45% from the field. If they just make Jimmy Butler efficient, I don't think Miami has the offensive weaponry to make up for that absence, especially with Kyle Lowry out for at least the first game of that season. That is a huge loss for this team. He is the engine that drives them offensively and a key part of what's made them a great defensive team. There's just a lot of things lining up for the Celtics to be a strong favorite in this series.
All right, Mannix, I know that players win games, but am I crazy to be a little nervous about that mojo of Eric Spoelstra? Excellent coach, maybe the best coach in basketball, and they always seem to find a way to slow down the Celtics when you think the Celtics have the advantage, to trip them up a little bit with some type of coverage. Is that going to be a factor?
Yeah, you better believe the last 24 hours, Ime Udoka and his coaching staff have dug through that tape of the 3 games they played against Miami and watched a lot of the junk defenses that Miami threw them. Individually, they have really good defensive players. Lowry, when he's healthy. Bam Adebayo, if he had been healthy, would have rivaled Marcus Smart for Defensive Player of the Year. But you watch that Heat team play, not just against Boston, but they'll throw a box and one at you. They'll play zone against you. They'll mix things up and make you have to adjust to them. So I think over the last day or so, the Celtics have been focused on that, making sure that when Miami switches, they're prepared for it.
Okay, this is sort of leads to the next question. Can we take anything away from the bubble series that we had 2 years ago? I think the Celtics were more talented 2 years ago. Heat were tougher, better coached, better defensively. And all those things sort of conspired to show us the Celtics weren't ready, but it wasn't a talent thing. Now, I think the Celtics are maybe the talent gap's even bigger now than it was 2 years ago, but all those other things. Have the Celtics closed the gap in those things? And I'll just start with one thing. In that series, a freaking zone, just a zone defense slowed the Celtics down and, helped them lose that series. If the Heat do something as simple as go zone in this series, to the Celtics, are they more equipped now to figure that out?
I think they are much better equipped than they were in the bubble. If I'm not mistaken, Gordon Hayward missed like half that series, then kind of looked like he gave up in the second half of that one. You still had Kemba Walker out there playing for the Celtics. This team is much deeper, much stronger, much better offensively, and much tougher. I mean, one thing Jaylen Brown said that I think went unnoticed the end of that Milwaukee series, he said, this series with Milwaukee prepared us for Miami. When I talked to people within the Celtics organization before the playoffs about the teams they might play, when they brought up Miami, they said their physicality gives us problems. They play physical against us, and we don't always match that. You can't get more physical than what you saw against Milwaukee. That was a boxing match. That was 7 rounds of fighting. Bodies on the floor, bruised bones everywhere, guys all kinds of banged up. The Celtics are going to be prepared for the physicality Miami brings. And if they just match that, again, I'm feeling very confident in this team. I feel like it's a 6-ish game type series.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, just real quick, back in the bubble, the boxing match was in the Celtics locker room.
Right.
Remember, was Marcus Smart. Hey, y'all on that BS, they had the locker room closed.
They didn't love Hayward's
for a long time.
They didn't love Hayward's effort.
And Hayward. And it shocks me that Hayward was not available for half of the series. So yeah, that was pretty much the story of Gordon Hayward in Boston. I want to hear your top 5 players in this series, Chris Mannix. Who you got? Top 5.
I look at Jason Tatum, number 1. That's pretty clear. Jimmy Butler, number 2. He's having a great postseason. 3 was tough. I mean, I think Bam Adebayo as a two-way player is just a hair better than Jaylen Brown. But Jaylen Brown played really well against Milwaukee. So you can interchange those two. And then Marcus Smart, I think, firmly entrenched at number 5. Tyler Hero in the regular season might have given him a run for his money, but he has not been the same player in the playoffs. He has not looked like the 6th man of the year. And if he's not shooting the ball well, Miami is dead in the water in this series. I can't emphasize that enough. They don't have option B, C, and D offensively. If Jimmy Butler doesn't get it going, if Kyle Lowry is out, that team offensively is in a world of trouble.
Is Jimmy Butler a superstar?
I mean, I consider the top 3 guys, top 4 guys in the NBA superstars.
Right.
Jimmy Butler is an all-star. He's maybe an all-NBA.
Is he a second all-NBA, third all-NBA guy? Where do you put him?
This year, no, maybe third. I haven't really thought too deeply on that one, but maybe third. But probably, if there was a 4th team, he'd definitely be on that one. He's in the mix for that 3rd team. One thing he does, though, he's kind of like Chris Paul at Chris Paul's best. He gets to his spots when he wants to. He will always shoot from the spot he wants to shoot at. So denying him those spots, making sure he doesn't get to his right hand, get to the basket, create offense for others, that's going to be key for the Celtics.
So, I mean, it's different than anything they've played or probably will play. You know, Durant can take over a game by himself. Giannis can take over and win a game by himself. You get to the next round, Luka Doncic or Steph Curry can take over and win a game by himself. Jimmy Butler, I don't think can.
No, that's why I don't.
You think he can, Mike?
Yeah. I mean, listen.
Did he go for 46?
He did in the finals. Remember that bubble series? So they beat the Celtics. He goes against the Lakers with Anthony Davis, shocking, a healthy Anthony Davis and LeBron. He has 2 40-point games in the finals. He was great.
But there's a different kind of defense in that back.
But I'm saying, he can do it.
He can do it, but I don't know if he can do it against Smart, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, that collection of defensive wings.
You know what you know where he makes me nervous? In close games.
Yeah.
Because he's not a great 2-point shooter. That's the one thing about him.
30-something percent.
30% from 3-point range. But if it's like if they're within 3, down the stretch, he's that kind of guy. He's just annoying.
Definitely.
He'll come up and he'll make shots.
He's
a clutch player.
I don't think the problem for the Celtics or a concern for the Celtics is slowing down Miami's offense. It's scoring against that defense. Miami wants to win an old school 90-87 type of game. They want to make this a rock fight. They want to slow the game down to a crawl and mix the Celtics up with some of those defenses. As long as Boston is patient offensively and we get the Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown from the last 2 games and Grant Williams' confidence continues to surge, I just think Boston showed a lot of offensive firepower in the last 2. And if that continues, this could be a short series.
Okay, injury updates for Game 1. Marcus Smart is listed as questionable with a mid-foot sprain.
He's always questionable.
Thank you. I mean, please.
Don't do it again. Mike, don't do it. Don't do it, Mike.
All I'm saying is the Celtics and injuries are annoying, and they always have been.
Robert Williams even back for the Nets series? I still want to know that. If he's got sore knee, why was he even playing?
Well, he was taken off the injury report, so he's completely healthy. He traveled for Game 6, didn't play. Suited up for Game 7, didn't play. Something tells me the team thinks he should be playing. Call me crazy. And Kyle Lowry has been ruled out. See, when you're hurt, you're out. When you're not hurt, you're in, and that's the end of the discussion. He's out with the hand, but with the Celtics, it's always somewhere in between, always battling injuries. It is completely annoying. Of all those guys, who's the most important for their team?
Kyle Lowry. Of that group that's in and out of the lineup by far. I mean, they just don't have option B at the point guard position. And you go back to that game they played in March. That was one of the better games Kyle Lowry played during the regular season, facilitating, shooting, playing defense on that end. Without him, you got to go deep into that bench. Maybe you have to tap a Duncan Robinson who hasn't played much in the playoffs. You put more pressure on Tyler Hero to be a ball handler and a playmaker as well. If he's out for an extended period, look, Kyle Lowry is as tough as they get.
Right.
Like if he was able to play, he'd be out there playing. Him being ruled out 24 hours before the game tells me he's really hurt.
And we talked about toughness for the Celtics and are they ready? Like, this is a series where you figure out if they really have it. I was talking to Keith Pompey from Philadelphia, who covers the Sixers, and he was saying, some players walk into the gym and say, hey, how you doing? That Jimmy Butler walks in and say, hey, MF, what's up? He's just really like an edgy kind of guy. And Kyle Lowry, too. And so those guys really will come at you. They'll see what you have. And so if the Celtics, I don't think they had it in the bubble. They didn't have it. I think this team does. So if you take out the mental advantage that Miami had over them now, I think you're right. It's probably a 6-game series.
They go tough 1 through 5, right? Like before, you could make the argument Kemba wasn't physically tough right there. You start with Marcus Smart, Jalen, Jason, Grant Williams, Al Horford, Rob Williams when
Derek
he's out
White
there on the floor.
too. Yeah.
Tough. Derek White when he's out there on the floor. They're tough. I mean, they go back to the bubble, Kemba, Gordon Hayward. These were not necessarily tough players that you put out there. I think their toughness is going to more than match Miami. Not just in this series. I like Boston the rest of the way. I think they're the favorite against any of the 4 teams that are remaining right now. I really do.
Okay, my favorite Butler story was in the bubble. He had a coffee maker, and he would make coffee, and guys would come in and say, can I have a cup of coffee? He'd say, yeah, $20. And, there's no friends with Jimmy Butler. At least he portrays himself that way.
Hey, I was in the bubble. There wasn't many options down there for coffee. Trust me, he could have marked a premium.
Here's another thing that I'm really interested in, and that's the three-point battle, all right? And you look at it, these are some of the best three-point teams, and I say offense and defense in the NBA. Defensively, the Heat and the Celtics were tied in NBA three-point defense, three-point percentage against. Number 1, Miami Celtics tied for first. Shooting, the Celtics were 14th, misleading. I think we all agree they're a much better shooting team than they were in the first half of the year. And the Heat were also first, which might be also misleading. I don't think they're the best three-point shooting team in the league. But this I do know. Defensive three-point defense, to me, feels like a real harbinger kind of stat. We looked this up today. Guess who the top 4 teams in the NBA were in three-point shooting defense?
4 teams.
These guys.
Celtics,
all these guys.
Heat,
Yeah.
Warriors, Mavs. Those were the top 4 teams in three-point percentage against. Milwaukee was 19th, and maybe that was their fatal flaw that the Celtics were able to take advantage of. And so who owns the three-point line in this series?
Well, I mean, I think that'll be a big factor in who determines. It'll be a very different type of series because the Bucks were willing to let Grant Williams, Al Horford, whoever, shoot from beyond three-point range. I think a big key for the Celtics is not forcing the three-point shot. They get three-point happy a lot, not just in this Bucks series when they went 50 times in Game 1, 55 times in Game 7. Don't do that. The Bucks, the Heat are going to pressure you in the three-point line. When they do that, they've got some perimeter defenders who aren't that great. Like Max Strus, you can go around a guy like Max Strus when he's out there. Whoever's going to take over for Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero. You got to go Tyler Hero hunting in this series. Seriously, like he is the weak link to that team defensively. Good teams, smart teams have gone at him in the playoffs. So if Miami's pressuring you in the three-point line, don't settle for those contested shots. That's big for Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Get to the basket, get easy opportunities, get to the free throw line, and slow this game down that way.
All right. Thanks, Chris. The Celtics are in Miami, Game 1 on Tuesday night. Our coverage starts at 7. It's brought to you by your New England Ford dealers and Arbella Insurance.